shotgun. Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It's caught! It is caught! DeAndre Hopkins! Miraculous!
What's going on, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Coast to Coast podcast. We're just doing a little NFL season preview. It's coming up. Training camps, starting to ramp up, and we're also close to the start of the season in fantasy. What's good? How y'all doing today? Oh my guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we're filming this early. I mean, not crazy early, but 9:30.
It really ain't.
For us, it's early.
Yeah, we're just some crackheads that sleep till like 2 p.m. and shit. But
yeah, well, I mean, I'm like the ultimate crack. I haven't slept like all day, or like I'm up. I haven't slept since like
26 hours.
Yeah, well, 20.
he's up.
Yeah, about 24. I've been up for like 24 hours.
Okay.
Heinous. So, but enough about me and my sleeping situation. We'll just get right into it, man. So first of all, we'll go through our top storylines to watch for, some of the storylines that we're really excited to see unfold this season. The first one is just like Tua's second season, and we're gonna get into guys with a lot to prove, and I think Tua is should be atop of that list. And I think it's a tad unfair just because it's only a second season, and for a lot of young quarterbacks they get 2, 3, 4 years to really find their footing in the NFL. But Tua, that's kind of accelerated because he's a super high draft pick. They expect them to be really good off the gate, just because he was so tremendous to Alabama. And it's just really important for him to step up because he's really like the missing piece. The Dolphins are like in win now mode. I mean, they have an exceptional defense, a great head coach. They got 2 new weapons for Tua with Fuller and Waddle in the draft, and they really have a solid team. A team that can really compete in the AFC. So it's really just on Tua and his growth. So I'll just start with Liam. What are you looking from Tua? Are you looking for like just kind of an average season? Just check down, get some yards? Are you looking for him to like kind of break out like a second year star, like a Kyler, or like a Lamar? Like what do you expect from Tua's second season?
I think we just got to see a lot of confidence out of him. I mean, looking into last season, there was a reason why he wasn't playing as much as he would, because he was so passive in the offense, and which kind of raises concerns of a lot of fans, is that even if Brian Flores has trust in him, obviously we'll get into it in a little bit, but we'll talk about Fitzpatrick. He's a really aggressive, go out and get it quarterback. He's going to throw it downfield. He's going to make his receivers, huge deep threats like he did in Tampa Bay and like he'll soon do in Washington. But, we got to see Tua be able to do that. He's got a lot of deep threats on that team. Obviously, he's got 2 of the best deep threats in the league. He's got obviously Jalen Waddle, who just came out of college, one of the best, yards per reception wide receiver we've seen in a while. And then he's also got Will Fuller, who, he'll have his game or 2 per year, but still had very good games last year before going out due to PED suspension. I think we just got to see Tua, show the willingness to throw the ball downfield to his guys. I think we got to see him play like, even if it's just like to the level of Baker Mayfield played this last season, because honestly, he's not going to have the support that Baker Mayfield had, where he's able to have, one of the best offensive lines in the league. He's able to hand the ball off to 2 arguably top, backs in the league. So we just got to be able to see Tua get through his progressions, get to his targets, and be really confident in himself. Because if he's starting to get shooken up when he goes against defenses, like the Patriots, who are going to be a really good defense next year, it's going to be hard for him, to really make a name in the league if he's getting startled and stuff. And, they don't really have another guy they can go to. They don't have the Fitzpatrick that they can rest on like they did last season. They got Jacoby Brissett now, Jacoby Brissett's a fine quarterback, but he's nothing like Fitzmagic is when it comes to that spark and what he brings to the team. So I think we got to see Tua just show confidence in his ability, keep building on, that he was able to be a winning quarterback in his rookie season. And I think there's some good promise for him out there in Miami.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Jose?
Yeah, I think definitely the next step, for this upcoming season is just a lot of maturing. figuring out how to really run the NFL offense, and not only to make those big plays, but to make the routine plays every single time. Like make that 3rd and 8, like cross route, make the check down when you need to.
Just move the chains, man. Just be like a solid game manager.
Yeah, like I think Baker Mayfield's a really good not comparison, but like a guy for him to kind of model his game after, because he might have like better arm talent, better athletic ability, but Baker is one of the best, game managers and winners we have in this league. And I think a lot of QBs, especially young QBs, can really learn from how he's able to manage the game, and produce wins despite not being necessarily, the most athletic guy out there, or, the biggest arm, but he's just a smart QB that knows the game and he knows how to win. So I think, that's really what you need from Tua. As far as stats wise, I mean, if he can hit like 22 TDs and keep his picks under 12, for 4,000 yards, I think that's a solid season. And maybe like 10 wins, 11 wins.
Yeah. I think
definitely. They're built for that.
The problem is he's a young quarterback who doesn't have a really solid run game around him. You've seen guys like, Dak Prescott succeed early in his career because he had a dominant Zeke around him. Even Baker Mayfield, he has the presence of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And even, when Jimmy Garoppolo started to come into his own in San Francisco, they had one of the greatest run schemes in football. Myles Gaskin's a good running back, but he's not a guy that's going to go out there and get you 100-yard games. The only 100-yard game I think they've had in the last couple seasons was in Salvon Ahmed, who many people don't even know had a 100-yard game out of nowhere. It's a really poor run game, and, it's really unfortunate they didn't address it in the offseason, but I think for us fantasy owners, we're super excited to have Myles Gaskin and his receiving ability, but Tua's going to have a lot of pressure on him when, he can't always just hand it off and Myles Gaskin's going to get him 5-6 yards on a carry.
Yeah, but I think Tua's built for it. Like, I mean, we've seen the type of stuff he went through at Alabama. Obviously, the big game that everyone knows, like when he came in for Jalen Hurts. Like, I think he's just built for the big stage, and I think he'll figure it out for sure.
Yeah, me too. I have faith in Tua just because, I mean, it's just a weird situation last year. I mean, he was starting and then he wasn't starting. He was just in and out of the lineup. Obviously, COVID year, not getting that, those mini camps. And, I think I have faith that, even if he doesn't, pop off for like the Kyler Lamar, massive second-year jump, I think like you guys, said it perfectly. Like if he just, game manages, he's just solid, like a Baker Mayfield type, just moves the chains, just does his job. He's like 2 to 250, yards. Like I think that's enough because the rest of this team is just so talented and they have the defense to back him up. So, and that begs the question, like if the Dolphins make the playoffs, but Tua's, just kind of average, like a Baker, like a Jimmy G. I mean, I think Baker's a little bit better, but than Jimmy G. But do they stay or move on? I mean, I just think he's so young. I mean, it's only his second year. I think it'd be tough to move away from him just yet. And I think they're in contending mode, but they're not necessarily like super, like they're like playoff contenders or like you can make some noise in the playoffs, but they're not like, Super Bowl contention just yet. I think they're still probably a year or two away from that. But so I think that's going to buy him some time. And they're not going to move on from him just yet. But, maybe in a year or two, like I said, if they're not in that contention yet and it's kind of, Tua's kind of bringing them down a bit, then yeah, they might have to. And it just like makes it even worse. Like, man, like, picking him instead of Herbert, if that were the case, if he ended up, not playing up to the level that we expect him to, that would be tough, man. So I don't know. I don't think they move on from him yet. What do you guys think? If he's just kind of average, like we were talking about.
I don't think so. I don't think they can afford to, because I mean, look at the guys they've had in the past year. I mean, the last QB they had, not Fitzpatrick, was Josh Rosen, and that was a dumpster fire, obviously under Adam Gase. And then before that, they couldn't really develop Tannehill. We see what he's become now under Tennessee, but I don't think they can afford to get another guy. Tua's pretty much the most talented guy they're going to be able to get. And I think they can win with him. They just have to figure out how to get it out of him.
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at it. Other quarterbacks like Drew Lock, like Daniel Jones, who've had a lot longer leash. I mean, Daniel Jones is one of the most turnover-prone quarterbacks in the NFL, averages about a turnover a game, and he's still the guy out there in New York who a lot of people think is going to be the answer for them. Then they also, like I said, Drew Lock, but they just brought in Teddy Bridgewater and guys like Sam Darnold, who's been arguably was the worst quarterback in the NFL last season. And, of course, he had a bad situation, but at the same time, you're expecting to see results out of a guy. And they can't really give up on Tua in one season. I mean, I think you still got to improve on the offensive line. I think it's a really poor unit, but obviously coaching comes into it as well. But yeah, and then at the same time, in this next draft class, there's a lot of quarterback talents. There's a lot of guys that are already being thrown in there in the first round name, and there's not going to be 6-7 quarterbacks taken in the first round. But nonetheless, they're not going to probably get a guy like Sam Howell or Spencer Rattler, but if they wanted to take a chance on a guy, someone that might fall like an Emory Jones, a Malik Lewis, there's a lot of huge name quarterbacks that they could be able to snag and really turn in this own. I think there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks in the draft after this season that are going to go really low that could really turn in this own. Looking for that fourth round, that Dak Prescott, looking for that, obviously to a certain degree like a Tom Brady, the Russell Wilsons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always quarterbacks. Every draft there's always at least 3, 4, 5 guys that you can all kind of see as viable options. So we mentioned him a little bit. Fitzmagic, going to the football team. The Fitzpatrick experience and what this is going to look like. And I think the football team, they're going to have. Personally, I just feel like they're going to have probably a similar season to last year. Either win the division or get a wild card or something. And Fitzmagic is just gonna boost all, I'm high on Curtis Samuel is like a deep flex guy, like Scary Terry, Gibson, even like McKissick is a nice solid stash him, solid PPR guy if you're in like a deep league or something. And I think Fitzmagic just raises the ceiling of all those guys fantasy wise and just real football wise. I think he's going to be able to get the ball around. Like Scary Terry, this will be, the best quarterback he's played with. And I'm just really excited. I think it's going to be a really fun year and get some magic in Washington, with who's their coach right now? Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
With Ron Rivera.
Coach of the year, Ron Rivera, man.
Yeah. Just a magical story with that. And I think it's going to be a great year for them. I'm super excited. I would pick them to win the division, honestly. But what do you guys think about the Fitzmagic experience? I'll start with Jose this time.
I don't know about winning the division.
Well, of course you don't. Of course you don't. It's just going to be Cowboys just slinging it all over, just outscoring everyone. But I like the Redskins. Or, sorry, the football team. I'm always going to keep doing that.
Team. Obviously Fitzmagic, a guy that's really explosive and can have those crazy games, but it can also fall apart very fast. And, I don't know how long it's going to take until they're searching for another answer, because Fitzmagic can have a game where he'll go 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And the next game it's 0 for 12 in the first quarter. And then he's throwing 3 picks. And it's okay, who can we fall back on? And right now they really have nothing to fall back on like that. But I mean, a guy that led the Tampa Bay offense to one of the most valuable fantasy offenses just 2 years ago. And even last year in Miami had some great games. So, I mean, yeah, it's exciting for guys like Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, who I think will thrive under a guy that loves to share the rock in the air like that.
Yeah, I think, one of the most well-rounded teams in the NFL, really solid roster throughout. Honestly, just looking at the units they got there on the offensive line, have one of the best interior guards in the league, Brandon Sheriff, have a young rising tight end, a former quarterback himself in Logan Thomas, a wide receiver duo who's going to have some of the most chemistry we've seen out of a duo, high school friends and college roommates at Ohio State and Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. Obviously, Antonio Gibson showed a lot of signs of potential. Obviously, of course, looking at that Cowboys game on Thanksgiving Day, had a great day. But, and then looking forward, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick might be getting a little bit overrated at this point. You got to realize he is a career backup. He's never really, had the chance at leading a playoff team. as far as he did, but he's got to show that, with his age, he's gotten a lot more mature. He knows the game a lot better. Obviously a Harvard student himself. You guys know he's a really smart guy. Then on that defensive end, extremely valuable there. They have a really good secondary that they just improved on this offseason. I do expect this team to go, about 10 wins. I think it's going to be a really scary team if they can get themselves situated. And, if Fitzpatrick doesn't work out, it seems like Heineke's got something with him. I'm not going to say he's a great quarterback or anything like that, but everyone just kind of wanted to gravitate around him. And, if you're playing him at the home field, the people are going to be loving him at FedEx. So I think it's a team that's really going to surprise this year. Just got to root for Ron Rivera and those boys. But, if Fitzpatrick can throw some deep balls to Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, those guys got some speed and they can make something out of it.
Yeah, definitely. They have like 2 overqualified backup guys, so I think they should feel pretty good about both those guys in like a kind of transition year where hopefully they end up finding their quarterback next year, either in free agency or in the draft. So then I think that would really unlock their team. But our next storyline I want to get into is Wentz in Indy. I mean, kind of similar to Tua, where you have a team like Indy that is constructed really well. I mean, they have a great defense. O-lines, one of, not the best in the league. I think, kind of decent weapons, probably not, as good as, some of the other teams, maybe, average, below average weapons. But, Wentz, I mean, we saw it early in Philly. I mean, he was an MVP caliber player and he just, really fell off, whether it's just him or just the injuries around him. He had, terrible O-lines the last couple of years. But I think, I think he's going to fall in between, MVP year and then like, all the shittiness that was going on, the last, few games with him on Philly. And I think if he just finds that middle ground and just, just like game manager, run the ball, make, those third and sevens, third and eights. Indy's going to be scary, man. And I mean, it's an upgrade from, I believe it's an upgrade from Phillip Rivers. So, that's something as well. And I'm really excited for this Indy team because they are just one of the most well-built rosters in all the NFL. And I'm super excited. So how are you feeling about Wentz in Indy, Liam?
Yeah, so I think like you talked about the weapons, I'd say Wentz's weapons when he was back in Philly during his like MVP caliber season were better. When he had Ertz, he had Aguilar, who was still doing pretty decent before he fell off, and Alshon Jeffrey. But, I think we have a lot of promising guys. I know some of you guys are really high on is Michael Pittman Jr. Out of
really like him. I just like it's just a what if kind of. He's just not proven yet. So
exactly,
I a lot of upside. And I believe in Pittman.
And the same thing in Paris Campbell going into his 3rd season out of Ohio State, a highly touted wide receiver with a lot of speed. You got to hope that T.Y. Hilton's coaching up these young guys. But no, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of running back guy committee there. I don't know if Carson Wentz is really going to be unleashed like people's going to think he's going to be. I feel like you're going to see not a lot of, huge deep ball throws and stuff like that. I expect him to be rather average, maybe like 26 touchdowns. I mean, that's not average, but I mean, still pretty decent, like 26 touchdowns. Probably going to cut down on the picks a lot because, that was a big problem. But, like everyone's pointing to, the coach that made him into what he is, Frank Reich, is now in charge of him in Indianapolis. He's got a great offensive line unit, so he's going to have plenty of time back there to sit in the pocket. And, a division that doesn't really have a lot of crazy pass rushing talent. Obviously, the Titans just added Harold Landry, but they added Bud Dupree from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, not a crazy like rushing force, especially when you have guys like a Pro Bowlers and Eric Fisher, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, and Braden Smith out there. So I think not Philly. The Colts are going to be solid, but I still think at this point you might want to give the division to the Titans just for high-powered offense they have right now.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to take him more than one season to really figure it out. But I think he's going to find, success, at least in some form. And I think he's definitely going to be an upgrade from Phillip Rivers. I think at the end of the day, like that's what we've got to look back on. It's like, did they upgrade from, the last guy they had? And I think, yeah. I mean, he's only 28. It's his first season in Indy. He's had a full off season, but it's one of like the heaviest run schemes in the league. He's not going to go out there and become, Mahomes or anything, but I think he's going to be a solid QB. And I think they really believe in him. I mean, I know Frank Reich believes in him, obviously, but I think they really believe in him going forward. And I think that does a lot for a QB's confidence, because in Philly, they were so quick to give him the boot once he started to struggle that it was really hard to bounce back from that. But I think, in Indy, it's a much better environment that really fits, Carson Wentz's like personality and play style. So I think it'll be a good fit. Maybe not this season, but for seasons to come, I think he'll definitely succeed.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see if Wentz ends up, kind of their franchise guy, their quarterback of the next, 2, 3, 4 years. And I'm rooting for him, man. I really like Wentz. It's tough to see him, struggle last couple of seasons, but he is in, a great environment, like you guys mentioned, in Indy. And I'm really excited to see that, because, I mean, yeah, like I said, their roster is just incredible. So speaking of incredible rosters, the Rams, they finally got their guy. I mean, obviously they went to the Super Bowl with Goff. Goff, been struggling the last couple of years. So they got him out of there. They brought in Stafford, who it's like, Stafford putting up all these amazing numbers, but not getting any wins on the lines. It's like, is it just him? Is it terrible, terrible teammates, whatnot, terrible roster? Well, now it's time. He's honestly, I mean, we'll get to it a little bit later. He, I think, has, the most to prove out of anyone, really, like both him and McVay, because it's like McVay, it's like, all right, you finally got your guy that can do everything you want to do on offense. And then Stafford, it's like, all right, you're finally on a team that has like, Super Bowl rosters. So like, are you one of those guys? Are you really one of those elite guys? And it's just going to be fascinating to watch, whether he's, it's going to pan out or not. And I have really, really high expectations for this Rams team, just because he should be that missing piece, because this roster is one of the best in the league. I mean, Donald, Ramsey, they got great receivers. I like Akers a lot. And just, McVay is great as well. And I'm just very, very intrigued to see if Stafford really is the missing piece and he can take the Rams back to the Super Bowl. So how are you feeling about Stafford in LA, Jose? What's your prediction, you think?
Yeah. I mean, Stafford, obviously one of the most talented arms that we have. But I think the biggest, X factor for his success in LA is, can he take the heat under scrutiny? Because they're going to struggle at points. I mean, they're
in the best division. I mean, they're bound to, lose some games to some really great teams that just happen to be in their division. And we'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah, especially, obviously facing the Niners, the Seahawks, the Cardinals. And, he's going to have a game where they don't do that well, and then he's going to take heat from the press, from the media. Obviously, we know, Twitter is so quick to flame, people after having bad games. And I think that if he can weather that storm, if he can really take that on head first and come back and still compete every week, week in and week out, I think that gives him the best chance to win. And I think he is, he does have that sort of it factor as a QB. Obviously he's had so much success in Detroit for the past 10 seasons, but I think he's going to do it, man. I think he's going to go out there and do the damn thing. I hope so, at least.
Me too. I have faith, but I mean, they're definitely a candidate for, being one of those teams that everyone hypes up and then they, don't live up to expectations just because there's so much on them. But I feel the same way. I think he can do it. What about you, Liam?
Man, I mean, like you mentioned, Carson, one of the most tough divisions in football. I want to say it's one of the best divisions we've seen in such a long time, because I could see a lot of these teams making a run. I think a lot of people are losing a lot of faith in the Seahawks, but you got to realize they got a top 5 wide receiver duo out there in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett.
Still got Russ, man. You can never count Russ out.
And a guy in DK who's just going to keep succeeding as a guy who's got all the physical tools to do everything. And a lot of really good defenses. The Seahawks came on at the last end of the year. But, Arizona Cardinals, they added J.J. Watt. Obviously, they have another year of Isaiah Simmons under the belt. Obviously, I mean, they did lose Patrick Peterson, but he was beginning to flutter there. But, you got Budda Baker, Chandler Jones, who's just a couple years removed from being a sack king. It's going to be, like you said, a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford. Back in 2016, one of the most clutch quarterbacks we've seen in a long time, 8 game-winning drives, 8 fourth-quarter comebacks, led the league in that. One of the most clutch quarterbacks we've seen. But, he's going to have the bright lights of LA on him. Obviously, the Rams are like the most popular team in the world, but at the same time, it's LA. Everyone's going to be shining on him. Something's going to, if anything goes wrong, it's going to be publicized by the media like no one's business. You just got to hope that, the people that have, temper tantrums a little bit, like Jalen Ramsey, don't kind of go off the rails if something goes wrong. But, we got to see that, Robert Woods can really become that wide receiver one, because he hasn't really had wide receiver one stats to this point. And a guy like Cooper Kupp's got to show that, he can return to that elite slot form. And then the young guys, I think, is where you got to look at the most, Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell, who they selected out of Louisville in the draft this year. Van Jefferson showed a lot of promise, and a lot of people are excited about Tutu Atwell and Tyler Higbee now assuming that tight end one role after Gerald Everett departed to Seattle. It's going to be a crazy division. It's going to be one that I'm almost going to watch every single division rivalry game in this one, because it's going to be crazy. You got Kyler Murray, who's a guy that I think has a good chance at winning MVP this year. And the Niners, fully healthy. What happens when they let go Trey Lance and let Trey Lance go out there and go crazy. And then obviously, like you said, Russell Wilson. I'm super excited. I think Matthew Stafford's going to have a great season. I'd love to see him come up to an MVP award. I think that would, bring everything full circle that's gone with him. But it's been a couple of years since I think he's really been considered an elite quarterback. I'd say about 2016, 17-ish was the last time, people were really wowed by his statistics. But, this man had 41 touchdowns and 16 interceptions on 5,000 yards in his third year. He doesn't have a Megatron like he did when he was back in Detroit putting up those numbers, but he's got a really good – he's got one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's just get into that. I mean, the battle of the NFC West. I mean, 4 teams that, if you relocated any of them in any of the divisions, I think they'd probably, one of, if not probably the favorite in all the other divisions. I mean, these are 4 of the best teams, not really just in the NFC, but just like the league itself. I mean, it's going to be insane. I mean, like, I think it goes like, I think my prediction, it goes Rams and then Niners, just because injury concerns, but the coaching's great. And then Seahawks, Cardinals is tough, because I think Cardinals might have a more well-balanced team because they upgraded that defense, but their coaching's just way, way worse than any of the other 3. I'm not a big, Cliff guy. So I think you could flip-flop, Seattle and Arizona, depending on how you feel. But it's just going to be crazy, man. I mean, can all 4 of these teams make the playoffs?
I don't think so. No, I think only
it has to be 3, right?
Yeah. I think they all win 9 games, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're going to be beating up on each other. And then, I think, they should be favorites in most of their other, schedule matchups. But what do you guys think, man? Who do you guys think is coming out of this crazy? I mean, like you said, one of the most competitive divisions, maybe ever. I mean, it's ridiculous. How stacked these guys are. So what are your predictions, for the NFC West? How are you guys feeling?
It's got to be Rams. I think you got to take Rams on paper.
I think it is too.
I mean, I'd love to say the 49ers, but they just don't have that it guy at quarterback right now. Every single every single other team in this division has that guy that they can really put that faith in their hands. Obviously, we love Jimmy G, but Jimmy G's not a guy like Russell Wilson that can scramble out the pocket and make a play when he needs to. Or, like Kyler Murray can, or Matthew Stafford, who we've all seen succeed. It's going to be a lot of coaching that Kyle Shanahan's going to have to prove why he's one of the best coaches in the league. I think slightly overrated in my opinion, but still, a really tight defense. But it's going to be really close. I think the teams are going to be within 3. The first and 4th place team are going to be within 3 games of each other at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Jose?
Yeah, I think this is going to be finally the season. I say finally as if we've been waiting for it, but the season where the Seahawks just fall apart. I mean, towards the end of last year,
hot take, but not too hot, honestly, because I can see that as well.
A steady decline for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Ever since the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think they're really banking on that new, that coaching change. And so we'll see how much that can upgrade or downgrade them. We'll see. But I don't think it will really sway too much in any direction. I don't think it's going to, help them out drastically. It's just the defense, that O-line's tough. I agree with you, Jose. I think you're onto something.
Yeah, obviously Russ is still Russ, but I mean, I don't know. The Seahawks, I just don't have a lot of faith in them, especially not, to win the division. The Niners are going to be up there with along with the Cardinals. Had some great battles last year, but I just don't think any team can touch this Rams team right now. The most complete team, coaching wise and defensively, offensively, everywhere. It's the Rams to lose at this point, and who knows if they're gonna lose it.
Yeah, they just gotta step up to the plate. I mean, the Rams, Rams have the squad, and I think the Niners, like you guys mentioned, like the only team that doesn't have that solidified quarterback. But I think when you look at the rest of the roster, you could argue it's the best in this division, just as all around defense, line play, and I'm just hoping that Lance, I'm not expecting it to be this year, but I think 2-3 years down the line, I have full faith that he can be, one of the best QBs in the league. I think he's that talented, and he's in the perfect system. So hopefully, by the time Seattle's, they're already on the decline. Hope, maybe they go into a little rebuild or something. Then the Niners come back, recharge with Lance, and we're back in it, baby. That's my dream right there.
Yeah, I think hot take. I'm going to say the Rams win their first game under Sean McVay versus the Niners this year.
They win the opener, or just the first game.
Just one of the game. They'll split the series 1-1, but I think they're winning at least one game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%. I see. Yeah, I mean, any of these, I wouldn't be surprised. Like the Seahawks, Cardinal, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these teams beat. I think they're just gonna beat up on each other. I think they're all just really, and they, the last few years they've always played each other really close. Rams, Seattle, Rams, Cardinals, Seattle, all great, and then the Niners, whoever they're playing. It always seems to be super close, and I think there's a legit there's a flame in all these rivalries that they all know how stacked this division is, and I think everyone comes out and plays their best when they're playing division, which we love to see. So we got two massive stars returning off injury. Really excited for both these guys. We got Saquon Barkley finally returning from that torn ACL. Hoping he gets back to those massive numbers. Hopefully he gets to be a fantasy star again. And then your guy Jose, Dak Prescott, returning as well. Hopefully getting back on track to where he was beginning of last season. He was on that insane pace. I'm just praying that both these guys can get back to form. In terms of how their teams are going to do, that's a little different. But I just hope these guys come back to full strength. So I'll start with you, Liam. What are you expecting from Saquon and Dak, and how do you think do you think they're going to be 100% right away, or take a little bit of time to ease into it? What are you feeling from their returns?
Man, I know Jose is going to love me when I'm going to talk about this right now, but a guy in Dak Prescott who was going to shatter passing record by nearly 1,000 yards in the pace he was at. Obviously, he probably wasn't going to break it by 1,000, but he had a really good chance to break it. A really high-powered offense out there in Dallas, especially when they're all healthy. Big question mark there. But, now they got a guy that they know they have promise in Tony Pollard. Obviously, Zeke is at his best when he's playing alongside Dak. A guy that I'm super excited about next year in CeeDee Lamb, who I think is going to take one of the biggest jumps in the NFL. Amari Cooper and obviously Michael Gallup are two very good wide receivers as well. But, I think Dak Prescott, he's got that warrior in him. We've seen what he did in Mississippi State. He's always been that guy that's just going to come back and fight. So I think he's going to come back and have one of the best offensive seasons from a quarterback we've seen in a long time. I think the only thing that's going to hold them back from an MVP case is going to be their team record. As hard as that sounds, I know Jose's probably pained by me saying that. But I think that's the only thing that's going to hold him back. I think he's going to win the passing yards record, and I think he's probably going to have the touchdown crown as well for that season. But then looking at Saquon Barkley, I don't know. I think they got to have, a two-back system out there because he's just going to get drained. I know he's such a freak of an athlete, but you hurt this guy, it just shows how much of a waste of a pick it would have been, taking him at number 2 when there were such other talented guys on the board. They could have gotten a guy in Quentin Nelson who would have built them one of the best offensive line units, just for the way he's such a dominant guy. But I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a pretty decent season. About, I'd say 1,100 yards, maybe, and like 6 touchdowns, but nothing to kind of blow your socks off. I think he'll have a prime time performance that everyone's going to rave about, and everyone's going to overrate the hell out of him. But I think Dak Prescott's going to show he's the real deal this year. Everyone's always hating, Dak isn't worth all that money. I mean, I think, you could say it's slightly overpaid because I think all quarterbacks, no one should be getting paid $50 million. You got to pay everyone else on your team. But I think Dak's got all the weapons. He's got the protection that he needs. He's going to have a great season.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited for Dak to come back. The thing is with Dak, I don't really think he cares about personal statistics at all. Because I think at the end of the day, the reason why he was putting up these type of numbers was because he was our best, weapon in helping us win. I mean, he was out there, playing every single down like it was a tie game, even though we were probably down 20 something points, and he willed us back into games by himself. This year, I don't know if he'll have the chance to do that just because our defense is, slightly improved. We've got, more years together to, with the DC to gel. And I don't think we're going to be in those situations, where we have to put up 45 points just to win a Falcons game, But I mean, I think Dak's going to have a good season statistically anyway. But I don't know if he's going to go out there and shatter records like that. I mean, I would love for him to, but I think at the end of the day, I would rather see, a 10 to 12 win season than a record-breaking season from Dak Prescott. As far as Saquon Barkley, I think he's in a really bad situation right now. He's in it's lose-lose for him because okay, let's say he goes out there and puts up, a great season as their workhorse back, and just deteriorates his body so badly, for the Giants team that's not going to make any type of noise. Or he goes out there and gets hurt again, and now he probably doesn't get paid like he deserves to. So it's just it's lose-lose for him, and it sucks.
It's going to be a lot of unguaranteed money in his contract, 100%. He's not going to get, he's probably going to fight for it, but New York would be stupid to give him anything near a Derrick Henry, a Dalvin Cook, that, he has the talent of, but he's not on the field enough.
Yeah. Which sucks. Yeah. He's one of the best talents in the league, and he deserves to get paid. But it's just the chips are really falling bad for him. I mean, he's getting dealt a really bad hand right now.
Yeah, and hopefully they can lower. I mean, you guys mentioned hopefully they can lower his workload. Get another running back in there. Just you can't afford. I mean, you put too much stock in Saquon, and to as soon as he says he's ready to go, you give him that bell cow workload. I think it's just bound for him to burn out or re-injure. That'll just be the worst case scenario ever. So hopefully, I think you're sidelining him. I think that's a solid target for him. I think I wouldn't expect him to get those massive rookie numbers again. I think as long as he's in that kind of stat range, it'll just help their team balance out more because hopefully Daniel Jones improves a little bit more. They got Kenny Golladay. Hopefully he's able to just balance out the offense a little bit more without just having to rely on Saquon and just bail him out with check downs and just pounding the ball. Let's just get to Daniel Jones real quick. He's in our guys that have a lot to prove. Saquon coming back for him, his best weapon, kind of his safety net. Then you got Kenny Golladay coming in. Good coaching staff, and I think the team's really behind Judge and the coaching staff. Defense is really solid, and in a wide open division, I feel like I think the football team probably and should be the favorites, but it's still Giants have the talent, and I think besides the Eagles, really, I think I could see Cowboys, just, shooting their way to a division title, same or not same, but, the Giants, I could see them as well because they got, on paper, they got the talent. And then the football team, their defense is incredible. Let's see if Fitzmagic, can do it. But, Jones has a lot to prove because the division's open for him and he has everything set for him now. And it's really just, kind of like Tua, it's just up to him if, it's really in him or not. So what are you guys feeling from Jones? I'm expecting just kind of a little bit of the same, honestly. I just don't really I haven't really seen much from Jones where I'm just like, oh, like he's shown some flashes. I don't really know. I think he's just, kind of mid, just kind of average. What do you guys think?
I think he's got to be able to take that leap to where the team can count on him every single week, because we've seen these like knick-knack games where, he'll have a bad game and they'll be like, oh, he had an ankle sprain or something. These knick-knack injuries, he hasn't had anything major, but, kind of something to always fall back on for when he struggles. It's like, okay, he's kind of dealing with this or he's dealing with the wrist or something. But we've got to see him be consistent. I mean, we've got to see him limit the turnovers, get the touchdown numbers up. He's got the weapons. He's got the O-line. I don't see a reason why he can't succeed in this system. It's a very well-run defense in a wide-open division, like you said. Not too many great defenses in this division, if we're being honest. So I think he can really beat up on some bad teams. He should be able to beat up on some bad teams, but only time will tell.
I think he's just got to limit his turnovers. That's the biggest thing for him. Especially he's also got to show his dual threat ability, a really sneaky athletic quarterback that people don't realize, but the weapons are ridiculous. He's got, one of the really shifty receivers from the draft in Kadarius Toney, a guy that can win a lot of one-on-one matchups in Kenny Golladay. Obviously, he's still got Sterling Shepard. And then he's got, he's a joke, but Evan Ingram's still serviceable tight end and Kyle Rudolph. So they have a lot of guys that they can go to in this offense, but I think the offensive line is going to have a lot of eyes on them. We got to see Andrew Thomas build upon that momentum that he had towards the end of the year and not what he had at the beginning of the year when he was looking like one of the biggest busts from the draft. I think Daniel Jones, it's going to be a slight improvement, but I think it's going to be next offseason. It's going to be time for them to draft another quarterback.
Yeah, same. I just think, they're going to probably end up moving on from Jones if, because it's New York. I mean, they want to win now, and he's kind of got a short timetable, and this is really here. The division wide open, weapons. He's got a lot to prove, and like you said, cut down on the bad, lazy turnovers, and I think the Giants are in a decent spot. So in our last storyline that we want to get to, I talked about earlier some teams that have really good rosters overall. And I think this team might have the best roster in the NFL, honestly, just overall, just top to bottom, position by position. Cleveland Browns, what's the next step for them? What's their ceiling? And I think, personally, I don't see why they couldn't make, not even really a Cinderella run to the Super Bowl. I think they could just make a Super Bowl run. I think they're that talented. I think, a couple things might need to go their way. I don't think they're just good enough to just, roll through the Chiefs or, maybe a team like the Ravens or something. But, if you get an injury here, injury there in these playoffs, and I could easily see this team making the Super Bowl. I think they're that talented. I think Baker, he just I love, I'd rather not my number one overall pick be, kind of like a little bit better version of a game manager like Baker. But with that being said, he plays within himself and he's really cut down on the turnovers for his first couple, for his rookie season, and, just plays within himself, knows his role exactly. He's got, the O-line, the running backs behind him, makes the plays he needs to play, and just really excited for this team. So I'll start with you, Jose. What's this team's ceiling? Because I think it really is the Super Bowl, man. I think this team's that good.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. They really do have, the window wide open for them to make this Super Bowl run. they're probably going to need to step it up a little bit offensively, get some offensive firepower, to match teams like the Bills or the Chiefs up there, or even the Ravens. But I mean, I think their division games as well are going to be like play a really heavy factor on obviously their success, because this division, it's up there with one of the toughest in the league. I mean, you've got the Steelers, who are
100%, yeah.
the Ravens, who've got, a couple years removed MVP Lamar Jackson, and the Bengals, who've got a young up-and-comer, Joe Burrow, got also a lot to prove. A really hungry division, and I think the Browns, they've just got to show that they want it more. I think they definitely have the talent to be up there with anyone. But they've got to be locked in defensively, offensively. Everyone's got to buy in. It's got to really be, a full team effort. And we can't have any, mishaps. No Myles Garrett throwing a helmet. Like, we cannot have, because there's always
stay calm, boys. Yeah.
Stuff surrounding the Browns, whether it's like legal stuff, off the field stuff. There's always stuff surrounding the Browns. So you just got to really like get rid of that and really just buy in for this season. I think they can do it. I really hope they do.
No, yeah, I think you got one of the best young minds in coaching in Kevin Stefanski. I hope that he's spending the entire offseason planning how to beat the Bills and how to beat the Chiefs, because those would be the two teams that got the most problems for him. He's got to be going over all the film, like doing whatever he can to, pick out that game plan that what's his name? The defensive coordinator that was the former Todd Bowles. He's got to pick out every single thing that Todd Bowles did that disrupted, Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, the offensive line was broken for them, and now they had one of the best units in the league. But, Cleveland's got a really good pass rush. If they want to put 5 guys out there, on the defensive line, they want to run a 5-2 formation. They can put Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and Tack McKinley out there. It's a really scary pass rushing duo, especially when you have, I think it's going to be a top 5 secondary unit next year with Denzel Ward, Troy Hill, Greedy Williams, Greg Newsome, John Johnson III, Ronnie Harrison, and Grant Delpit, a former
crazy.
What's the defensive back award winner?
Oh,
Jim Thorpe Award, right? No. I think he won that though, but
I'll fact check. Jim Thorpe Award.
Yeah, the Jim Thorpe Award, a super good, talented safety out of LSU. I think the main question mark for this team is the wide receiving unit. Odell Beckham, you can't force the ball to him. I think that's been a problem for Cleveland. Everyone's always been talking about let him get open, Baker. It's been so long since Odell Beckham has been that polarizing figure, that he was in New York, that, really made people talk about him as one of the best wide receivers in the league. Jarvis Landry's obviously a really good wide receiver. I think we're going to see a big jump out of a guy, Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan, who showed a lot of promise last year in his couple of games. And obviously, Rashard Higgins is a really good player as well. But, one of the most complete units, it's assuming that David Njoku, let's say he stays, they have 3 nasty tight ends. It's got to, even if Baker Mayfield, let's say he goes out with like a finger injury for a game or two, Case Keenum can lead this team to a couple of wins. But I think this is a team that has all the tools to go. They got to believe in that run game. They got to die by that run game. Need to go crazy with it. You got one of the best running backs, pure runners in the league, in Nick Chubb, a guy that can do it all, and Kareem Hunt. I think this is the team that's going to do it this year. I think they got to put all their faith, into Baker Mayfield, give him the confidence, and Stefanski's got to find the game plans, working with his defensive coordinator, to shut down the high-powered offenses of Kansas City and the Bills.
Yeah. You guys made a great point about, really like the 2 teams that stand in their way, just because, 2 teams that it's hard to compete with them when they get in the shootout, because Cleveland's just not really built for those shootouts, Chiefs and the Bills. And I think they're kind of similar, like the Clippers of the NBA, where it's like the Clippers are one of the best teams in the league, but it's like, do they have enough to, they're looking to be, just a couple teams. It's the Lakers and like the Nets, that's like who they have to, look up to and game plan for. It's really like their only comp right now. I think that's same with the, with the Browns. They just got to figure out, how to how to outlast these shootouts and just slow them down, because those are really, I think, the two teams. I think they match up well with the Ravens. I think it's just those two teams that can slow down Allen, slow down Mahomes. Like you guys said, great chance of making the Super Bowl. So before we get into we'll just do like some rapid fire questions. We kind of already mentioned like all the guys. We had guys that have a lot to prove this season section, but we already kind of touched on a few of the guys. Tua, Daniel Jones, McVay, and Stafford. So just real quick, do you guys, start with Liam. You guys have any other players or even coaches that have potentially have the most to prove this year?
I think you got to put a lot of pressure on Drew Lock. He has all of the talent in the world around him. He's got Cortland Sutton. He's got Jerry Jeudy, who, by the looks of it, fixes hands. This guy's one of the best wide receivers in the league. KJ Hamler, obviously Noah Fant, Melvin Gordon, and Javonte Williams. If he doesn't succeed, he's out of Denver. No questions asked about it. Otherwise, I don't know who else. I think we've got to see Baker Mayfield improve. And I think a lot of people have a lot of pressure on this guy, Josh Allen. He only had one good season. He's got to show that he can keep progressing.
Consistency, yeah.
And I don't want to say he's a lot of proof because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but we got to see Lamar Jackson shine out with these new weapons. He's got Rashad Bateman. He's got the receiver out of Oklahoma State, Tylan Wallace. He's got a lot of guys, and Sammy Watkins, who will go crazy week one. But I think we're going to see a lot of those cameras. All the actions can be pointed on those guys.
Yeah. Another young QB I had on my list of guys that got something to prove. Justin Fields, man, he's got a lot of cards stacked against him. I mean, not only is he facing the super long lineage of Ohio State QBs that have been failures, like very bad failures in the NFL. Like, let me just name a couple for you guys. Obviously, the most recent, Dwayne Haskins. But we've got JT Barrett, Braxton Miller, Troy Smith, Terrell Pryor, Cardale Jones. I mean, a lot of odds like badly against him. And also playing in Chicago. I mean, Chicago's never really had that guy at QB. And he's kind of expected to be that guy just kind of off the rip. A lot of guys really don't even believe in him, like, to start over Andy Dalton right now. And I think that's wild because Justin Fields is so much more talented. And, even if Dalton does start just because of like experience or whatever, I don't think it's long before Fields takes the reins. And Chicago, obviously one of the most historic franchises in the league. I feel like they still haven't really recovered from the double doink a couple of years ago. They're still kind of like trying to find their footing back in playoff contention. But yeah, Fields, he's got to really prove that he can be that guy. And I think he can.
And another hot take, I mean, not looking at a player, but a coach, a guy who signed a massive deal, $100 million deal over 10 years, former analyst. I'm putting John Gruden on the hot seat this season. If he does not produce, even though it's such a hard division, he's out of there. They blew up the team for no goddamn reason this year. They have no offensive line anymore. Derek Carr, he's got some weapons and obviously one of the best tight ends in the league, but I'm getting rid of John Gruden if he can't bring this team to, anything. Because every year they're like, oh, they're a sleeper team to win the playoffs or something, It's just a poorly run roster, and I think you got to get rid of the GM. You got to get rid of the coach because I don't think they're going to do anything special this year. I think they could win 4 games, to be honest. Hot take. I don't think they're going to win much.
That's that hot of a take. I mean, I don't remember who said it. Someone on the Steelers last year, they were like, the Browns going to be the Browns. Who said that?
Probably Claypool or someone.
Yeah, I think it was Claypool or Juju probably.
I feel that way towards the Raiders. Like, the Raiders going to be the Raiders. And that's just like such a bad organization that might beat the Chiefs on like a casual like week 5 game. But other than that, they're really never going to make any noise, especially not under Gruden, especially not with Mike Mayock at the helm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Yeah, I think with the Raiders, it's like, yeah, completely deconstructed the roster. It's like, it just seems like they're soon to be in just a rebuild. And I think, if you go into that, do you really want Gruden as as your coach to, transition, into that rebuild? I just don't really know if that's the best fit for that situation. So yeah, we'll see what the Raiders, man. Yeah, I'm not really expecting much either, man. Just it's not besides Waller. I mean, you look around. I mean, Ruggs. I want to see Ruggs succeed. I think he still has a lot of potential, but it's just so bland, man. You just don't really see any excitement or any like real like eye popping talent. On the Raiders. I mean, I like Jacobs. I think he's a solid young running back, but it just yeah, it's a lot of despair, man, in Vegas. So we'll see. So yeah, real quick, we're just gonna go in some rapid fire questions for this upcoming season, and then we'll wrap it up, man. So we already did Dolphins with Tua being average. So yeah, just rapid fire. We'll just give like a little few seconds blurb or whatnot. Your guys' picks for the NFC West. I got the Rams. What about you guys, Liam?
Rams.
Yeah, I Rams too. I think, with McVay and with Stafford, I think Stafford just elevates them to one of the best teams in the league. And I think, it's going to be close though. They're not going to win it by much, but I think it should be the Rams.
And one quick thing though, we got to see if the defense can still be what they were losing Brandon Staley. I think that's a big thing you got to look at. And especially even a team like the 49ers losing Robert Saleh, two big defensive coordinators leaving, that to make a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Biggest sleeper team next season?
New England Patriots.
What about you, Jose?
Shit. Los Angeles Chargers.
Nice. I got the Panthers, man. I think Darnold's just like gonna get a rejuvenation in Carolina. They got great weapons. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. Obviously, they got McCaffrey. Nice, young, up and coming, frisky defense. And I like Rule, man. I believe in Rule, and I think this is gonna be a solid team, and I'm excited to see what Darnold can do with a change of scenery.
But my take. Patriots beat the Bucks week 4 in Foxborough.
Wow. With Mac Jones at the helm? Is Mac Jones?
Don't care who's at the helm. I don't care who's at the helm. We're getting that Cam Newton staring down the Seattle defense running out the tunnel type shit then.
I'd rather it be Cam. Yeah, I would love to see that.
If they get a win, I think I'd rather see Cam do it too.
Yeah.
Interesting. The Patriots. I like their tight end signings and whatnot. I just don't know about they didn't really address the wide receivers too much. I mean, they got Aguilar, right? And that was about it.
I don't know. It's solid. I mean, it's nothing to go crazy about, but watch out for them. One of the best.
I'm excited for Damian Harris, though. I think Damian Harris, they probably won't get the bell cow work just because it's Belichick and the Patriots, but I think Harris is going to have a really good season. Next one, preseason personal MVP favorites. Who you guys got, Liam?
I'm taking K1 Kyler Murray.
Jose?
Shit. Give me Dak Prescott.
Dak.
I'm
gonna go Josh Allen.
Okay.
They just, I mean, it's gonna be hard to. I mean, he had such a great season last year. It's gonna be hard to improve upon that. But I think if he does, and get an extra win or two, I think should be his. Next one, player you expect to take the biggest jump.
CD Lamb.
CD.
It's not Antonio Gibson.
Curtis Samuel.
I'm just gonna throw all my chips in. I'm hoping and praying. I think it could legitimately be Tua.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm going for best case scenario for Tua. And then last one, team you think will underperform next year.
I hate to say it, but Tennessee.
Interesting.
Just got a lot of hype. Obviously, getting Julio. I don't
Their
know.
defense did get worse.
Yeah.
Much worse.
Hot take here. The Bills.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think still I don't know, it's tough. I think even with Rodgers, I think the Packers still take a little bit of a step back because I think, I think with Fields coming in, hopefully the Bears get a little bit better. I think the Vikings are going to be really solid. So I'm going to go with the Packers.
I got one question, though. I have one on the spot. Who is finishing with the worst record in football next year?
Texans.
Raiders.
Who did Jose say?
I said the Raiders.
Raiders? I can see that too. Texans. It has to be the Texans, right? Dude, I mean, if they don't have Watson, they're starting Mills.
Yeah. Okay.
And they just lackluster everywhere.
I mean, they won 4 games last year.
But I mean, that was like all Watson. And if they don't have Watson, they lost Fuller.
It could be the Jets.
That is if Watson doesn't come back, by the way.
I don't know. This is a hard one because I think there's a lot of teams here that could surprise. But I think it's be the Texans. Yeah. Again. Hey, best record though. Best record. They don't have to win, but at all. But best record in football.
I have to go into the schedules a bit, but
give me Bucks.
Bucks.
Yeah, I think
the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are gonna come out, and I think they're gonna be pissed. And then they upgraded that O-line. I think they're just gonna come out like just angry, and they're just gonna steamroll everybody. I think they're gonna have a monster year. It's like a lazy pick, but
I'm gonna take that too. I think they have a lot. They're gonna show out. We're gonna see a Clyde Edwards-Helaire jump, and it's gonna be.
Yep. Yeah, I really like Clyde Edwards. By the way, in fantasy, his ranking is way lower than I think it should be, and I think you're getting a discount on someone that we all thought was going to be like a top 5, top 10 back last year, and I think this is the year where that might happen.
He's got like a 3rd round ADP.
That's still pretty low, man. For being 5th ADP last year.
Yeah, I think it's a discount, even though it's still like, it's just low, way lower than what it was last year. But I think that could be a massive steal for someone. But all right, man. You guys got any more questions on the spot? We're taking it all.
Another team hot take. Jameis Winston's going to surprise a lot of people next year.
I hope he starts.
I hope so.
If he doesn't start, I swear to God, I'm going to go crazy. But I think him and Michael Thomas, Michael Thomas is going to go over 1,200 yards next year.
Yeah, I really want Thomas in fantasy. I think he's going to have a massive bounce back here. It should be Winston that starts, man. I think he'll just keep the role that he had, just increase his role, like what he was doing with Drew Brees, just give him more plays, I think that's the best solution for their offense. But I want to see Jameis start.
Yeah. Every year there's a guy that falls off, whether it be due to age or due to injury. Who's that guy next year?
Falls off.
Like because of age and injury?
Or whatever reason, like he just has a really bad season, like just falls off the face of the earth. I'm going with Russ.
Damn, that's hot.
Hot. Man. Matt Ryan. I'm changing my take. I don't think actually no, fuck that. Never mind. I'm not going on that. Excuse me. I can't say that anymore. No, I can't do that. I can't go back on my word. I'm rocking with Matt Ryan. Derek Carr. I think he's going to regress heavy with no offensive line.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan's been MVP, by the way, so my bad.
Matt Ryan?
No, not winning MVP, but I think he's got a lot of crazy weapons.
I think the Falcons are going to be sneaky good. They could be like an 8-8 team.
8-9. Never won.
I mean, true. I mean, they literally could have been last year. I mean, they were in so many like one possession games.
Exactly.
We're going to have 10-win teams that don't make the playoffs.
Yes, we did it last year, didn't we? Didn't the Dolphins miss in 10 wins?
Oh, the Dolphins, yeah.
I'm just trying to think someone might fall.
I think Big Ben's up there too. I don't care about his damn Tom Brady diet that's coming out, and he's effed.
His diet's stricter than Tom Brady's. Shut the fuck up, bro. Can you play football or not?
And Juju's gonna no one's gonna want to sign Juju after this year. I think his antics off the field are just gonna piss people off, and he's not gonna perform enough.
I
Yeah.
can't
For
even
the best
come
wide
up.
receiver on that team.
I'm too fried to come up with someone right now. It'll probably come to me like later, and I'll like drop it on Instagram or something. I can't think of anyone right now, but yeah. I mean, yeah. If you guys got anything else, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Our 2022 NFL season preview. Super excited. We're super excited to give you guys some fantasy content. Coming soon. We're super, super excited. We want to help you guys win your leagues, man. We want to see you guys succeed. We want to see you guys get the jackpot, win your leagues, whether it's 10 team, 12 team, 18, 14, you name it. Like, we want to help you guys. So super excited for that. We're super excited for the season coming soon. So without further ado, man, we're going to sign off, and we'll be back with another episode, probably Sunday talk. Coming up on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. And peace.